こんにちは、名前はレベルです。Okaeri. It's definitely been a while since my last video. I'm back here again with a different topic of a different style. Why was I gone for so long? Well, I had some personal issues, but also I was learning Japanese for 80 days. This video is going to be kind of a crash course of what I went through and what I recommend for new learners to the language of Japanese, because it is a lot to take in, but honestly, it's not as hard as you think it is, as long as you don't take it too seriously. If you're using this video as a guide, discern for yourself whether this is something you actually want to do first. Because let me tell you, you're not going to learn within 2 minutes, and there is a high chance that if you're not fully committed and interested, you will back out. And I'm not just saying that as like some guy who's like trying to push you out of the space or something like that. That is genuinely what your mind will do to yourself. If you want to quit, you will quit. If learning Japanese is not fun and engaging for yourself or your mind, and I don't just mean you get burnt out every now and then or you get frustrated with something, if you genuinely get burnt out with Japanese and you genuinely don't like doing it, you won't learn. The positive thing about learning Japanese though, or while learning anything in general, is that you never really entirely lose your progress. With any skill that you come to learn and achieve and master, you won't just fall back behind if you don't want to. If you're motivated, it'll be easier and easier to keep moving forward. My motivation for learning Japanese was that A, I wanted to try new things. I was in such a low place. I needed to do something to tell to myself that I was actually achieving something within my life. The other smaller goal of learning Japanese for me is that a friend put me on it and I felt like I was interested in Japanese video games, Japanese culture, etc., etc. So I already had that baked in interest for myself. Now, your motivation for learning Japanese will most likely be different from mine. So, if you don't have a motivation for it and you don't have the willpower to go through with it, please either watch this video for entertainment or move on. Start learning Japanese by just starting to learn Japanese. Now, the language of Japanese is more complicated than some other languages, so you can't just jump right into it right away. However, there are things you can do to get yourself started. Start by learning 2 of the main 3 alphabets within the Japanese character set. That is going to be your hiragana and your katakana. Kanji is also an alphabet you can learn, but there's about thousands of characters within kanji, so you're not going to learn all of those right away. Hiragana is the base sounds and vowels for Japanese characters. They're the most simple characters that you'll see, and they're mostly used by younger people or first learners of Japanese. Now, there's also a way of reading characters called furigana, which mixes hiragana with the kanji characters of Japanese. This is very helpful for first-time learners. Games like Yokai Watch and Pokemon happen to use these styles. And honestly, even if you can't read the characters right away, I would recommend you start with furigana. Romanji is typically called what are the English characters that are for the dialectical sounds of Japanese. Now, I wouldn't recommend starting with these because it is kind of a crutch. You're using the English language to leverage yourself into the Japanese language. You'll kind of get mixed up along the way. Just start yourself with hiragana, furigana, katakana, and just build yourself up from there. It's like learning a new alphabet. Just keep yourself trained on the alphabet. You will learn it eventually, I promise you. The second thing you want to do while you're learning the Japanese alphabet is, for the love of God, immerse yourself in the Japanese language. Do not be passive with the language. Make sure you're absorbing as much content in Japanese as you can. Reading, listening, and watching are all appropriate, and you should probably take your time to have a good mix of all of them so you can sharpen your skills across the board. Don't use English subtitles for Japanese content you watch, and don't use subtitles in general unless that's what you're studying for at the current moment. For example, if you're watching something on Netflix, you don't have to turn on subtitles. Just listen and see what they say. Now, if you're trying to read and listen and comprehend at the same time for a certain study session, that's fine. But do try to even out what you do with Japanese. Don't use English as a crutch for your language acquisition, because sometimes there's stuff in English that just doesn't properly translate to Japanese and vice versa. To add on to my second point, don't study too hard. You can study the basic fundamentals, study your vocabulary, but please, value immersion above anything else, because that is what's going to do most of the heavy lifting for you in the long run. It'll still take you some time to learn Japanese, but over time, you'll just learn it better the more you just push yourself into the language and just listen to stuff you don't already know before you start learning it over time. You know what I mean? Now, in terms of when you should speak your target language, it is up to how much you value having an accent or not in that language.
うなぎ規制強化ですね。Basically, tighter eel regulations. うなぎ eel。うなぎはアナゴではない。川に住んでるうなぎ、海に住んでるアナゴ。Basically, river eel.
Because the way we learn language, especially when it's a language out of our preconceived vocal range as certain speakers of certain languages, it's gonna kind of mess you up a little bit if you start too early, but the choice is definitely yours in terms of when you want to speak. But I would recommend waiting a little bit. For me, I haven't waited too long, but I've definitely had a lot of different resources to copy from in terms of my speaking, so I don't feel like I'm too bad. But honestly, I don't think I sound like a native Japanese speaker. Boku no Nihongo wa warui. I'd say don't really go for books, honestly. Usually because they don't really offer any actual tactile feedback in terms of reading the language. We have so many more resources today that can be more effective than reading. You can definitely read books if you want to, but I wouldn't definitely start out that way, and I wouldn't use it as like your main resource. Avoid Duolingo like the plague and try not to fall for other Japanese learning apps. These apps intentionally drip feed your knowledge at a snail's pace to get more of your money, and most of the time, they are insanely misleading in terms of translating language, especially in languages so hard to translate, such as Japanese. There's really only one resource you should be looking into that's paid. Otherwise, just look into every free resource for learning Japanese that you can, or just focus more on your immersion. That's what's going to help you in the long run, and that's what's going to save you money so you can learn Japanese as affordably as possible. If you have Netflix or Amazon Prime, this is very, very easy. You can just set your language to Japanese and you'll be fine from there. Just look through stuff, make sure you have the audio set to Japanese, and from there, you can watch pretty much anything you want. Dubs of stuff that isn't originally Japanese or anime. The choice is yours. Just watch and absorb. Very, very simple. For Spotify, just type random things in Japanese or look up the Japanese word for podcast, which is podcast. And from there, you're all set. You can listen to Japanese music, but I don't think it'll provide as much of a bulky immersion as watching shows or TV or talk shows will be. Just a little bit of advice. For YouTube, make yourself a brand new Gmail account in Japanese and go ahead and start listening to content there in Japanese as well. If you don't start your YouTube account brand new fresh, you'll run the risk of getting more English content on your page. And what you want is plenty of Japanese content going to your feed. Also, when you do see English content on your Japanese YouTube page, make sure you click the don't recommend this channel to me again or the don't recommend this video to me again button, because otherwise you watch it once, YouTube's going to think you like English content, which is something you don't want to do in terms of trying to learn Japanese. So, video games. Set your secondary language on Steam as Japanese and look on the page of every game you own to see if they happen to have a Japanese dub. If they do, you're in luck. You can use that for immersion. You can also use visual novels for immersion, etc., etc. Here's a few handpicked games I recommend you try for immersion. Refull.la's Japanese Learning Guide is a good resource to look into when you're just getting started. You don't need to buy anything from them, just read the guide and get that information absorbed in your head about learning Japanese and the basic fundamentals of the language. From there, you can start studying in full with my resources I have over here. Anki is a flashcard app that you can use for so many different things. Please just get it for free. On iPhone, it's called Anki. On Android, it's called Anki Droid. Don't get the other ones, get Anki Droid. Make an account, download a kanji deck for katakana and hiragana, and then from there, add vocab and immersion sentences as you go along. You can make your own deck for words you've experienced along your learning journey, but that is not required by any means. These are the decks I use on my Anki. I usually set my limit to around 20 cards that I review a day, and then 20 new cards on each deck per day. But your limits may vary. Now, for reading, for absorbing, for immersing, there is one app that I recommend above all, and this is a paid app, but it is called Ling Q. Trust me, it is a very, very good resource. It is community curated. It is mostly accurate as far as I've been able to tell, and honestly, their support staff is very, very nice. You can pick community curated courses. You can tap words and see what they mean. You can edit definitions along the way. It is such a cool app that really got me into learning Japanese, and it's really helped me along the way too. It's way better than Duolingo could ever be. It sets your limits to what you prefer. You can quiz yourself, you can do all that kind of stuff. It's just a giant big package all at once. For a dictionary, there are 2 resources I recommend. One, if you're on a computer, go to japandict.com. They're the most accurate Japanese dictionary on the internet as far as I can tell. If you're on a mobile phone, we also have Takoboto. That is a Japanese dictionary that is on mobile. They are also very accurate as far as I can tell, and they also have some quizzing resources that are offered to you for completely free, so you can use that to sharpen your knowledge a little bit. But I wouldn't use that as your main studying tool. Just use it for dictionary words. Now, using a translator app is kind of like using Romaji. You shouldn't be doing it very often, but in a pinch, you can use it. If you want to, I would recommend DeepL. They are a lot more accurate than Google Translate. LingQ uses their definitions from DeepL as well. Last but not least, I would also recommend Game Gengo. He is also a very good resource in the Japanese learning language space. He's a completely free YouTube channel to watch. He goes over video games. He just describes the kanji and the sentences and the vocabulary. He's a really cool guy. I definitely recommend Game Gengo. But yeah, that's the last of my resources that I recommend for learning Japanese. My own journey of learning to read and speak and understand Japanese has been an insanely fulfilling experience, a little bit challenging, but insanely rewarding, and I hope this guide helps you to achieve the same for yourself. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them. If you like this video, please give it a like or share it with other people. I might even branch my content out a little bit more if you guys kind of like the Japanese learning guide kind of stuff like that. I'm not going to be Game Gengo by any means, but over time I can definitely probably try to get myself into teaching what I know about Japanese over time, or borrowing my friend who knows more Japanese than me to assist with people who want to learn Japanese. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great, great night. Mata ne!